angle for every match, but if you're going to have star power, it better be star power.
You can find a shirt just like I'm wearing right here at onetruesport.com. Guys, I love this. The Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson. You got the logos, the Horseman logo right here, matches the hat. So you can look Four Horsemen sharp, crisp, and top of the line merchandise. Don't forget those jackets right behind me. Our listeners have gotten their Doug Halliday Four Horsemen shirts that he did for them. Arn, they're beautiful shirts as well. Check it out, onetruesport.com. With all that said, though, Arn, I think it's time to talk a little bit more about the show. We have a few more things to plug, but I want to get into this week's episode. I want you guys to fire in your comments. I see we got super chats rolling in. I promise we will get to your super chats. But Arn, is it okay if we start with June 1995 a little bit?
Yeah, buddy.
All right, let's do it. Guys, throw the questions in. I'll get to them as we run through. And if you remember, the last time we got together, we were talking all things May 1995. And as a reminder, that pay-per-view ended with Arn Anderson and Ric Flair delivering the beatdown of a lifetime, not just to the Macho Man, but to the Macho Man's father, Angelo Poffo. Arn, after Hogan and Savage had defeated Flair and Vader in this tag team match. Renegade and you were the enforcers down along the sidelines there. You were outside of the ring, but you jump in and you start kicking the shit out of Angelo Poffo. Arn, I got to ask you, any memories working with Angelo during this time? Any conversations, anything that you can recall from this time spent during this kind of feud that he was involved with the Macho Man?
For some reason, I can't remember that.
Okay.
Have you seen any footage?
I remember watching you kick the shit out of him yesterday when I watched the Bash. They showed the recap of what the pay-per-view before, and I'm like, well, there he sure is. Flair's got him down, and Arn's delivering the boots to Angelo Poffo.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. No, he was a generation ahead of me, and obviously he's responsible for giving the wrestling world the Macho Man, Randy Savage, which was huge.
And Lanny Poffo.
As well as Lanny Poffo as well, yeah. So, generations passing down the business is always a good thing. But if he chose to get in our business in those days, you know what the answer was.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of going on, leading us into June. Vader and Hogan are still kind of in the top line creative, but they're not going to be on Great American Bash. The pivot was to Savage, to focus on Savage and Flair. They're having a red-hot feud. It's all over TV the month of June, and they've had good matches in the past, so it's going to be red-hot. And we're going to talk about this month you taking on the Renegade for the television championship. Oh boy, I can't wait to talk to you about that. We're going to talk about Meng and Sting wrestling in the finals of the U.S. title tournament. So lots going on this month. I wanted to start with something that's been bugging me a little bit, Arn, and that is the whole Vader and Hogan not being a part of the pay-per-view. So during the buildup of this whole event, we've still got Vader and Hogan all over TV, Arn, but then bam, they're kept off the pay-per-view. These guys are headlining the last few events. So they headlined Super Brawl, Uncensored, Slamboree. So in your mind, was it the right call? I mean, were they giving fans a little bit of a breather? We would see them the next month. We'll see them in July. But do you feel like it's okay to maybe keep them off pay-per-view for a month and focus on another feud like a Flair or Savage? What's your take on that? Do you continue a red-hot feud like that pay-per-view to pay-per-view, or is it okay to give it a month off?
Well, let me ask you this. Building was sold out, I assume.
It was. Dayton was sold out.
It is a smaller venue, which means you could give a couple of your top stars the night off and give them a little rest, give them a little break, as long as you still fill up the arena, which is going to be very important. When you have those feature shows, you got to fill the building up so that the people that are there look around and they go, hey, it's shoulder to shoulder. every seat is taken, I made the right decision. Because if you're at a 20,000 seat arena, say, let's just say that, and you paid premium prices and you go there and there's 3,000 people there, you start looking around going, well, how do I feel about it? Am I the only dummy that wanted to come see this? You know what I mean? You almost brainwash yourself.
Sure.
So if it was packed, Dayton's a good wrestling town, a great wrestling town, and I don't think it's a bad thing to rest some of your top guys.
And it's not like they totally ignored him on the pay-per-view. Bockwinkel does come out and make sure they make it clear, hey, next month, Bash at the Beach, it's going to be Vader Hogan in a massive main event steel cage matchup. So it's not like they completely ignored them. They just chose to focus on some other. Again, we're talking Flair, Savage. Those two, back in these days, they can main event any pay-per-view and be okay. You still have Sting in his prime, Surfer Sting. And so you still have plenty of top talent. To your point, it sold out the building.
Yes, and that's a couple of main events.
Sure.
So you're all right there, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about Flair and Savage a little bit, because right on cue, we see that shift to Flair and Savage. Do you think those two had enough built-up tension to sell a pay-per-view main event? And I feel kind of awkward even asking that question, because to your point, they sold out the building. So I guess
star power
question.
Star power.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a angle for every match, but if you're going to have star power, it better be star power.
And you know what? Flair in the pre-show interview brings up Elizabeth. He brings up the 1992 story with Elizabeth. It added some depth, even if it was from WWF. Wrestling fans know that story. It gave him a hook. I mean, there's a risk because you're bringing up a cross-reference. Flair brings up a line about 92 when I, took your woman, referring to Elizabeth. That happened in the WWF. But you think that's a good move? You think, hey, and even back in those days, still wrestling fans were smartened up to know what he was talking about?
Well, you could allude to the angle, but you can't say WWF. Right. So that's how they covered their ass. And I think everybody remembered the Elizabeth angle, so they got away with one.
Yeah. So you're totally fine with that whole concept.
Yeah.
Stuff. All right, let's keep going because we have a lot to cover for June 95. I wanted to talk about the retro toy convention. That's coming to Greenville, South Carolina. That's prior to WrestleCade, November 22nd to 24th. Arn, I know you're excited about going to Greenville, South Carolina. You're taking the family with you, and it should be a huge event for you and Brock.
Smokey's making the trip too, so we got the whole crew going, and Greenville is like one of Aaron's favorite places just to go down and walk around. It's such an eclectic city. What it's become is just some cool shops and cool restaurants, and the downtown areas. I mean, it's become a destination for people that all over the Southeast, I think. So that'll be great. Be a good time.
If you're in the area, even if you're not in the area, make it a trip prior to Thanksgiving, November 22nd through 24th. Come see Arn, come see Brock. And I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of great guests and other things to do there. It's a toy con. So Arn, a lot of stuff going on at these conventions, isn't there?
Get that new action figure out there for anyone that's been wanting it. It hasn't been out very long, so have plenty of those. Those will be available since it is a toy con. We'll have some books.
I was going to say, let's talk about the comic book. I'm sure you'll have some in hand.
Photos, pictures, you name it.
You name it, Arn's got it.
Hats, T-shirts, all those that, you can't, figure out like me how to work the internet and order them that way. They'll be right there sitting on the desk in front of you. So
if you do know how to work the internet, great plug there, Arn.